and you know what to do.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to With Thunder's Applause, a podcast where two friends get together to discuss the events and ideas that will shape our uncertain future. I am your host, Steve, along with my co-host, Zach. What's up?
Nothing much. It's harder to get rid of pumpkins once Halloween is over than one might think. I'm sitting on like 20 of them.
Eat that shit, bro.
Dude, we have eaten like 3 of them. We made pie.
Yeah, one pumpkin of a decent size is more than enough pumpkin for 2 people for like a fucking week. Because it's not like you want to
Exactly,
eat
yeah.
fucking pumpkin every day.
Yeah.
You make some
It's
pies.
yeah.
Everybody likes pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving.
Hey, man, that's probably what we're going to end up doing is just making pie for
Yeah,
other
and just
people.
sell them on like Facebook Marketplace, dude.
I don't want any money, man.
What's that?
I don't want any money.
No, I mean the pies.
Oh,
Got
gotcha.
a
Well,
side
either
hustle
way.
doing pies.
Either way. I don't know. I'd rather make friends with neighbors and whatnot.
Yeah,
free
that's
pies
true.
and all that.
That's
Establish community so that when the time comes, we're ready to take on the apocalypse.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's got to start somewhere, right?
Friendship, yo.
No, it does. It's got to start somewhere, man. Like, I keep thinking I'm gonna just like make up a fucking flyer and then just hang it on all the doors in my neighborhood.
Yeah, man.
And be
You
like,
have to.
hey, things are pretty rough right now. Just checking in as a neighbor. Everything going okay? You have all your needs met? It's
That's
like
really how you have to
you
do
should
it.
probably store like food and water and anticipate like disruptions to supply chains because this is going to get worse.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, literally just being like, hey, have you thought about fucking prepping because shit's hitting the fan?
Yeah. It's not a bad it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad no matter what the premise is, it's never a bad idea to talk to your neighbors. Unless your premise is we hate anyone who isn't like us all the time. In which case, just stay to yourself. Don't talk to your neighbors. Leave them alone.
Yeah, for real. For real. All right, bro. All right, bro.
So, today we have a bit about a teacher strike in Fresno that was averted only narrowly. And I kind of want to walk through it in like a chronological order. And so we're going to go ahead and do that starting here. The Fresno Teachers Association or Fresno Teachers Association. Anyway, it's a union, and they authorized a strike about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Let's see. There is the president, Manuel Bonilla, and he's going up against or he's working with the Fresno Teachers Association board. So at the beginning, they basically went through and they had some demands from the school district, and they were pretty simple. There were 4 major ones. There were a bunch of little ones. They kind of don't even get mentioned. I've tried to look for them, and they're very small. But basically, 93% of people decided to vote for the strike, and these were the 4 demands that they had: reducing class size and reducing the caseload of special education programs. The wife has worked for the special education program and can testify that it is a woefully understaffed group for what it is they're supposed to accomplish. So as you can see, these first 2 are for students: class size and caseload. You can say that, oh, it's to make it easier for the teachers, but no, really, it's to give the students a better outcome. The last 2, paying educators a wage that keeps up with inflation, obviously for the educators, and fair. Yeah. Hey, don't cut our pay is more or less what that equates to. And if you are someone who got a raise, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's essentially saying don't allow, like, we should not have to suffer a reduced standard of living because of inflation.
Yeah, exactly. If you do not have a raise that is equal to the inflation rate, you have got a pay cut. You are doing the same for less or more, most likely, due to all the different terms that our bosses have invented, such as, oh God, what is it called? Quiet hiring. That was my favorite. That happened to me. Where someone quit their job and you just get hired for it with no extra pay, and you have more tasks. Let's see. And then maintaining the employee health fund. This one is especially important because if you read more about it, um, later on, the uh, bureaucracy or the bureaucrats in the district, they were basically saying that they needed to pay all this extra stuff that the teachers were asking for from that health fund.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty messed up. They're basically saying like, hey, forfeit your future for your present. And it's like, no, we're supposed
Yeah.
to get
So is the
both.
health fund, they obviously have probably match on a premium, right? It's part of their benefits.
Yes.
But then is there a greater health fund for like catastrophic health issues and stuff?
That
Okay.
is my understanding. Yes. Is
Okay. Yeah, and that makes sense. And then the
yeah.
district's like, oh, you want more pay? Well, we're just gonna borrow it from your fucking your medical emergency rainy day fund.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
awesome.
similar to how when 401ks were first coming into existence, employers borrowed from the pensions
Right.
and ultimately never paid them back and then declared bankruptcy and
Isn't that part of the reason they say Social
tens of thousands.
Security is not solvent is because like the government borrowed money from Social Security?
Yeah, and we'll claim that all the time. And it's like, well, it's only insolvent if you don't find money from a random place or print more money. And ultimately you can print more money and increase inflation, but
Well,
then
I
you
mean,
always
there was
lose.
always gonna be problems with the way that we allowed we didn't have a firm understanding of it. I
We didn't
mean,
have a firm understanding of like how families would evolve over
flattening
time.
the flattening the baby boom, flattening the
Yeah.
curve, right?
Yeah.
Like
We
we should
absolutely
have had
didn't.
family planning implemented. But I think culturally we were different too. Like that I mean, I guess a government could. China did, right? And
Yeah.
China
And
got its fucking population problem under control real quick in like a
there was
couple
a,
generations. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say there was a very firm, McCarthyism basically said, like, hey, anything that isn't godly is bad. And so you should just have children. And, like, that was one of the major complaints about Marxism was that they immediately assumed there was no God. And without God, you don't have to like increase the number of children you have and train them in your religion. And so ultimately it was a threat to the people in charge. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Uh,
I mean, people have practiced contraceptive because there's like in ancient Egypt, there was contraceptive recipes from like herbs and shit or abortifacients, they call them.
yeah,
Basically,
for
that
sure.
like you can do a plant that would make you pretty sick, and they knew that if they ate the plant that it would make them really sick, they'd basically like they'd abort, like
Yeah, yeah.
they'd poison themselves essentially.
No, it's a very well known thing from a very long time ago,
Yeah,
and we just kind of like made it a crime to do it.
yeah, and I think a lot. You're right. A lot of that has to do with reproducing the population to grow the size of the church, but
Well, also the
I think a
workforce
lot of it
in
was
in
labor.
modern eras. Yeah, yeah. In modern eras, it is much easier to point at the idea that you're trying to raise the workforce as opposed to, you know, doing it for religious reasons. It's much easier to encourage people to breed for the purpose of replacing you as you opt out of the workforce for whatever reason.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, but there is a demographic bubble with Social Security. I did want to add to the class
Yeah,
size thing
yeah,
because that's a problem I see,
yeah. You're closer
in
to it
our
than I
own
am.
school. Like, it's just so fucking absurd. It's just I
Okay.
don't even want to like go into it super
Well,
hard,
no,
but
yeah, I think you have to. Are you talking the idea of decreasing class size is absurd, or the fact that they
no, no, I'm
pretend like
saying
they
it's.
can't?
I have firsthand experience, and then I was thinking about the school and all the fucking things they don't fix while they're trying to focus on doing other things that are more exciting to them than the actual like mundacity of fucking governing a fucking school.
Okay.
And they're all like sexy projects. They're like, ooh, this like
Mm,
popular developer is really excited that we're considering a site in his big development to build our new school. Like he thinks it would be perfect. It would be a neighborhood school. And I like at this meeting, I like put in the fucking chat because I was watching via Zoom. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think that like a developer wanting us to build there should be fucking even discussed.
Yeah, like, are they even
Or if
educating the
anything,
children
it
they
should
have?
make us caution and be like, because they're like, and it's just they're school administrators, and they're set on building a new school because we leased the place we're in and it wasn't designed for a school.
Hmm.
But then one of the buildings that's on the short list, or like one of the sites on the short list, is literally an insurance company. United Health, I think, is insurance, right?
I don't know, man.
It is. I think it's either billing or an insurance company back office, which is exactly what the building we are in now was.
Mm,
Except we'd move across town to a site that's frankly like worse. Like the parking lot's harder to get in and out of. It's far away from everything. Like there's like, at least at the school we go to now, there are a handful of families that like walk or ride bikes.
yeah.
And it's just talking, yeah, it's fucking ludicrous. But then
So, I mean,
they're like,
honestly, it sounds like this school was basically a failed office plaza. Um, and so the owner of the property was just like, "Hey, I'll take literally anyone or anything in order to fill this building." And they were like, "We're a school. We can guarantee to fill it." And now they're just like, "Oh, we made a bad agreement."
kind of,
Is that
yeah.
about right?
I think that they want to increase the size of the school because as
Mm,
administrators, it's an organization and their
yeah.
objective is to make money.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that is something that does not get talked about enough with schools of that nature. Is the fact they are for profit, and if they can't make the profit, then they will close.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And on the subject of class sizes, like it is a problem. I get it. I think it's a lot harder because then you have to basically like to split classes. The most efficient thing you could do is hire additional staff to do extra things or help break up classes for part of the day.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you simply like our school we're in now, we don't have fucking space,
Hmm.
you know? And our class sizes used to be really small when we started, but
Right.
then I don't know exactly what happened. I think the people who were really excited about Waldorf and were sacrificing a lot to make the school the way they wanted it to be got replaced by people who treat it like a fucking regular for-profit institution.
Basically, all the good people left, and all the Nazis moved in.
Not quite,
Mm.
but
I know you've talked about how Waldorf has its basis in Nazism.
oh, there is definitely a connection that I have yet to find someone who is willing to discuss that and explore it with
Of
me.
course, they will not talk to you about that. Come on,
I'm like,
man.
"Hey, do you guys have any issue that like his philosophy like made its way into the broader collection of ideas that form the foundation of Nazism?"
Like, my children are a little impure. Should they be eradicated?
Yeah, they celebrate diversity. They got it woke written all over the school.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, of course
Let's
they do.
see here. So yeah, and so that's where we are with the actual strike that was what?
Superintendent Nelson's disconnected from the realities of the classroom.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'll go
imagine that
back
a
to it.
bureaucrat that has
Ima-
no idea what the fucking frontline
Imagine
workers are
that.
doing.
Yeah,
That is,
and
yeah. Go ahead.
no, no, please. You
No,
have
I
much
was
more
just gonna
frontline.
say it's exactly my issue. It's why I had to sit with the principal last week
Oh
or
yeah,
the
yeah.
week before. I'm like, have you been in the fucking classroom? Because this classroom's a mess. And we said, hey, we would like to see an assistant, a classroom aide in the class 5 days a week, at least in the morning lesson period, because that's like the important and stable one, right?
Yeah,
It's the block of time in their classroom, and then they go other places to do different things throughout the day.
right.
Um, but it's like we'd like an eight, fourth grade behaves themselves and they listen to their teacher and respect their teacher. They
Right.
have an aide 5 days a week for 2 hours in the morning.
Hmm.
Second grade is fucking pandemonium. It's got special needs kids that aren't getting the special needs care they need. They're
Yeah.
literally just in a classroom and they don't even have a
Any
individual
classroom.
learning plan for them.
Any, like, literally, it's just get them in any classroom, is
And they
my
have
understanding.
the deputy vice president or whatever you want to call it, the vice president or deputy executive director or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
She's just kind of a floater, and I'm sure she gets paid vice president pay, and
Right.
she just like comes and she'll deal with the special needs kid when like the teacher's like, hey, he's like assaulting people, can you come deal with this?
Yeah.
And then they're trying to teach a class of kids who were like raised in front of fucking smartphone screens during
Right.
COVID,
Yeah.
and they have zero attention span, and they're
Mm-hmm.
also just second graders. They're getting them to sit still for any length of time is a task even for the best of them.
Oh,
Um,
I can attest to the idea that like this right here has ruined, attention spans because like I have none and I'm a fucking 42-year-old dude,
and imagine that we at least had a life before fucking
right?
social media.
And it's fucking wrecked my shit, man.
Because my girlfriend's only what 4 years younger than me, and she talks about like Instagram and YouTube and stuff like when she was like in high school. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that shit came for me at the like end of college.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I kind
No,
of like
it's
missed most of it.
it's super interesting. Like you and I are very similar in terms of like, where the internet was, and our significant others are very similar to each other as well.
Yeah, we make the joke about having to download, like we didn't even get to watch videos because that's how it came up. I think it's like it was what there was a Ask Reddit, or maybe it was like a 2X chromosome. Yeah, it was a two X chromosomes or whatever the
Hmm.
female led subreddit is,
Right.
and or the popular subreddit.
I
Um,
think you are correct. Yes.
yeah, and then the question was like, my fucking boyfriend only wants basically doesn't want to be with me because I don't want to take it in the ass all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, come
And then
on.
everybody's like, he probably has a porn addiction. And I was like, how do you get? Oh, that's right. Because some of these guys, like, they become aware of their sexuality and they have this at their fingertips. And it's
Hmm.
like, we were like, we had it at our fingertips. We had to wait until everybody was gone then to use the fucking dial up internet because no one could use the phone while you were on the internet. And then you're like, 46 6K or whatever download. You didn't download videos because
Oh
like
no,
you just
no.
downloaded pictures and stories
Yep.
because being like
And
erotica
you were
because you
happy to
couldn't get
see
a video.
line by
Yeah,
line
as it
as that
loads.
woman appeared. Yep. And then occasionally it would be like a prank one. It'd be like, all right below the waist, right when you expect cum gutters, it turns out you get like a horse or something like that, or you
Yeah,
get a
big horse
dude.
dick or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Photoshopped on it. Yeah,
Yep.
it was absurd, but like I get it, right? Like people's exposure to the internet is vastly different in just a handful of years.
Oh yeah, very, very, very
All right.
true. Yeah. So anyway, going on, they were just talking about how they have, credentialed, ready to go substitutes who've already been fingerprinted, background, etc., etc. The wife was talking about doing that, and ultimately she was just like, I don't even think it's worth it, because I can work for a company that'll pay me, pretty well and take 30%, and that's still better than the 500. And so shouldn't do it, but you have so many people that are ready to go for this because later on, we will cover, but I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. The Fresno School District was ready to basically double, excuse me, the pay of substitute teachers,
Yeah.
and take them from 250 a day to 500 a day, which was just barely short of what full-time teachers were demanding. So full-time teachers basically said, like, hey, we want about $500 per active day. And it ends up, I forget I think it's like 200 or 220 days. Is that right? In the school year?
Mm.
It ended up
That
being
sounds right.
about, it ended up being about like $56,000, for like mid-level, or teachers. But yeah,
Yeah.
not enough, not enough. And after this, let's see.
Excuse me.
No, no worries. F11. Do this. Share this tab. All right. So,
And then this came from the school district.
yeah, we started getting emails directly from the school district because I got a kid who's in her junior year. And it says, "Good afternoon, Fresno Unified Families." Attached, you will find a 2-page document with important pieces from our proposal to the Fresno Teachers Association. From here on out, FTA. I'll probably mention the full name like every third time. So some of the bigger points that I found was they said that, we basically went ahead and paid for a report, and to accomplish all the things that the teachers were asking for. And they said in the report, the fact finder shares that there are too many problems to fix all at once. Imagine that. So he focused only on the most important things. And this is the school district giving their opinion. And that is how much teachers get paid, their benefits, how long the agreements for the benefits and the pay last, how teachers learn, and how many students are in a class. And so this at this point is ignoring one of the major things, and that was how special needs students learn. They're only talking about class numbers here, and they're focusing entirely on all the demands that our teachers had for pay. So the fact finder recommends that there are increases for pay using money from the healthcare fund reserve account. I spoke about this earlier. The idea is basically like, we don't have money now, so we can take money from the future and give it to you. But when you're in your 60s, 70s, you're not going to have enough money in your healthcare fund to pay it off. They also included a Medicare gap healthcare coverage that would come into effect. Woo. Oh no, come into effect upon retirement. Damn it.
Lost your spot.
Yeah, I lost my spot.
It's
Boop.
okay.
Boo. Okay, there we go. Let's see. So our part that I found a little interesting was they said that the school district says that the proposal goes above and beyond the recommendations of the fact finder, which is supposed to be a third party, non-involved, group, including things like helping students with special needs, having smaller classes. Is actually something that was demanded from the or teachers from the beginning, so that is not above and beyond, and giving teachers more time to learn. That is actually above and beyond what was asked for. Even with all these offers, the Fresno Teachers Association says it's not good enough. I will continue with one more sentence, which is that we are doing everything we can to be open and transparent about what's happening through negotiations, and you can reach us here with any questions you have. So the problem here is that they have used their unmitigated access to parents, students, guardians to make a statement. And when it comes to questions, they only
Direct them to themselves.
They only direct themselves. Yeah.
Well, if you have a question about this, ask us.
Yeah. And so basically at this point, they are using their unmitigated access to parents and students to make a statement. And ultimately, this comes back to bite them, but only a little bit indirectly. Let's see. Now we got. No. No, stop. Okay. So we have Fresno.
Oh, and then because they were using the email account to intercept parents who might have questions.
Yeah.
And also spin it to be like the whole greedy teacher trope, right? Because asking to get paid $56,000, bro. Like I've spent, as is abundantly clear now, because I talk about it almost every show. I spent a lot of time in the school the last few months. $56,000 a year is like, I mean, I guess they have like 2.5 months off, huh? Yeah, I could not do that every day, every week of the year, minus 2 weeks of vacation. Like, there's no fucking way.
I mean, if you look at it times 4, Or
Bro,
divided
it's
by
just
4. So,
it's just fucking crazy.
quick math shows that if you're talking about that rate, they're making $1,000 every week,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're working or not, because we are talking about like a yearly rate. But like, if we're talking about, is that a good rate? I mean, would you, as a parent, not a parent, want to hang out with a bunch of children and have to deal with a school board above you analyzing everything you did just so you could make like $55,000 a year? Barely above, what is that? No, barely below 2,000 a week. Like, not worth it in my opinion.
I don't know. It depends. Some people are really into it, but it is a little disingenuous, right? And also, like, on this part of the union, like, sometimes they butter it up by being like, we care about special ed kids.
Mm-hmm.
When they're like, okay, we can pay for it this way. We can pay for special ed parent teachers, but it's going to come out of your health fund. They're like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Not that important to us.
Yeah.
In all fairness, it shouldn't have to. Unfortunately, like, we're not going to fix it. I think the way we do schooling in this country is wrong. Really wrong.
Oh,
I
I
don't
mean,
I don't understand why we have kids in school till they're 18. It's not fucking necessary.
mm,
Um Other developed countries, other G7 countries don't fucking leave their
16.
kids. Yeah, don't leave their kids in school till 18. Like, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, it's
Um
typically 16 years old, and we've discussed this in prior videos. The
we've
general
done
idea is you
education
do,
videos.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, like you want to do 16 years old, and after 16 years old, you go ahead and send your students off to specialized training.
Trade schools.
And
Yep.
yeah, and whether that is college or a trade school is entirely dependent upon how they do in exams.
Yep.
Yeah,
And their
entirely.
expressed interests, right?
Yeah,
And their exams would be not necessarily purely academic, but they'd be more like the military where it's aptitude based.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how does your
Very.
brain work? Which I think aptitude testing is superior to like book knowledge testing anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like the language to determine if you're capable of learning languages quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a test where they fucking have a fake language.
Mm,
And what they're testing is like, how well do you actually understand how language works, like with grammar and
mm.
shit? And like,
Huh.
can you see patterns and make sense out of those patterns to understand?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it was cool.
yeah. So let's see. Here it is the FDA, and they filed an unfair labor practice complaint because the district's chief communication officer authorized administrators to ask staff if they planned to support a strike. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with like how the laws work regarding unions, but if you are an employer trying to coerce someone into explaining themselves about joining a union or anything like that or striking, it's highly illegal. And so the actual the Fresno Teachers Association ended up suing due to the fact that some of their teachers were asked to share information that shouldn't need to be shared. So pretty awesome right there. It actually put a big pause on everything. And allowed everything to move forward. So here we have an email regarding strike preparation. So it says attached below, you'll find updated facts regarding the possible or a teacher strike. And I would like to skip here
Is
where
this
it
provided
says
by the district?
it is provided by the district to the individual parent. and there's a thing that says I shouldn't share this, but I'm sharing it. And it says, how will schools stay safe in the event of a strike? Well, Fresno Unified will provide additional supervision and security to each campus in the event of a strike. Students will also be supervised by qualified, background check, fingerprinted, permitted substitute teachers. This is 100% true, but they don't discuss the fact that, like, who's who who is providing guidance to these substitutes? Who's to
Nobody.
say that they're, yeah, and so they're not going to continue on the path that they were on as students being taught by their normal teacher. There's no guidance whatsoever because no teacher on strike is going to give away their lesson plan to a scab at all.
Yeah.
and so you have a bunch of scabs that are just trying to do their best. And that was kind of evident, like, from the beginning, like, oh yeah, it's going to be kind of garbage. Let's see. If a strike occurs, will camps, sports, field trips, or community events be canceled? I love this answer. In the event of a strike, to ensure safety and security, all events in or on Fresno Unified property or for Fresno Unified students outside of regularly scheduled school hours and after school programs will be canceled. The only exception will be high school sports competitions and practices, which will have supervision provided by administrators. So, by people not striking, and hired security. Again, people not striking. The district hopes to reschedule all other canceled events, including camps, field trips, community meetings, youth athletic tournaments, and center access and green space activity once the strike is over. So they're saying we will absolutely make sure that sporting events will take place. Any sort of stars that we have that might get recruited into the major leagues will absolutely be able to go forward with their plans to be recruited. And the only people that are going to suffer are everyone outside of the sporting realm. Do you read that differently?
They're definitely prioritizing sports. Sports also make them money generally, which is
Right.
a real unfortunate reality.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I would hope that, no, I think that if they have fucking coaches that aren't doing it as like that are not teachers volunteering to
Mm-hmm.
do it, then that's where they can get some fucking money.
Right.
There's absolutely
Fire.
no reason to be paying fucking coaches.
Yeah.
Like, I could see
And
if you
that
have,
happens a
like, a
lot.
bunch of sports programs, it would be important to pay someone who oversees, like, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in
A
terms of,
dean of
like,
sports.
coordinating how facilities maintenance and the turf guys and, like, arranging transportation for games and stuff so that coaches can focus on improving improving your performance or whatever, and they have kind of an administrator for sports.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't be fucking paying coaches and that's their only job is to fucking coach.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it really is just paying extra for something that a regular teacher would do for free.
yeah, for real.
Will my students still receive breakfast and lunch from school if there's a strike? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know. Good to know. At least they're fed. What happens if there are not enough substitute teachers? The district has over 2,100 substitute teachers ready to be deployed in the event of a strike. We'll actually cover this a bit later. However, if that is not enough, then staff will serve as substitutes. Staff that may or may not be qualified. They don't talk about that. Staff that, like, theoretically, can fill the gap, but might not. And we're going to make sure that all students stay supervised and safe. And I think this is a great quote right here because this has nothing to do with being educated. It's just
Oh
that,
yeah.
like, we expect that schools are deadly, deadly places nowadays. Like,
Well, yeah, I think that maybe the district is assuming parents don't understand, and having been
they
around a
are.
school, I would safely say I don't think they understand.
Yeah, I will say that this is I understand it, and there's a fairly good chance that your average person might not.
Dude, there's so many parents have zero fucking awareness
Yeah.
outside of I drop them off at this time and I pick them up at this time.
Yeah, and here's a great question. Am I okay to send my students to school in the event of a strike? Yeah. Fresno Unified is prepared for students uh, to stay open, or sorry, students to show up for a school that is open, and for them to continue
Everyone stays
learning, and
safe.
for everyone to stay safe. We look forward to seeing your students on campus. Here's the thing.
I'm sure there's some schools in Fresno that are rough as fuck, like
Oh yeah.
Mexican
Oh,
gangs and
dude,
shit.
dude,
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
yeah.
It's I'm not saying it's great, but yeah. So if a student stays or stays home because of the strike, will his, her, their absence be excused? So like right there, they're just like, we're so accommodating. His, her, their. No. While parents may decide to keep their students home, it is not considered an excused absence. Per administrative regulation, blur, 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 students are excused from school for personal illness, medical, dental appointments, and funeral services for an immediate family member. So a
I
fun
don't
thing is,
I don't like
um,
that either. Federal, because that's the way my company did it too. It's like,
yeah,
oh, it has to be an immediate family member.
yeah,
And I'm like, so like, I don't know, like grandma who I never fucking saw died. I can go to her funeral, but like my best friend who was like in my life for decades and decades and decades, I can't go to his because he's not related. That's fucking
yeah.
stupid.
That's exactly as it is. Yeah, and that's the thing is like nothing. Okay, so I'm going to say nothing that we are prepared for acknowledges the found family. Like, and that is a huge part of like you and I have found family for sure, but
Yeah.
that is a huge part of the current generation. Like, they understand that the family that you're born with is kind of bullshit, and it's the family that you end up with due to friendship and caring that really matters. Like, I've got there's at least one kid in my life where like if everything went to hell with their family, they'd be welcome here. You know what I mean?
100%, bro.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, carry on. You got you're gonna read that highlighted stuff, yeah?
Just a few more, yeah. How can Fresno Unified afford to pay its substitutes $500 a day during the strike? A teacher's average salary per day is nearly $500. On days a teacher strike, they are not paid and cannot take paid leave. Contributions to their CalSTRS in this case, retirement are reduced for each day they strike. This offsets Fresno Unified special rate of pay for substitutes in the event of a strike. So basically, they're willing to pay actually like more on average for striking scabs than they are for teachers that are just wanting to do their job and get a little bit more ultimately.
Yeah, and they're straight up like, hey, when they're on strike, we're not gonna be making contributions to their retirement fund.
Yeah, they set aside $3 million to pay for substitute teachers in the event that the strike happened. Spoilers, it didn't. Let's see. Can other union partners join the Fresno Teachers Association strike? No. And we'll get to this a bit later, but basically they're saying solidarity strikes are not allowed. There is contractual language that forbids it from happening. So don't even think about declaring it as a legal reason for not showing up to work. Thankfully, there was um, a way around that that we'll cover a little bit later. Lastly, can teachers send FTA flyers home with students or use school resources to communicate with parents about why they are considering a possible strike? No. Per California BA language, I don't know what that is.
I think it's a bargaining agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, their other thing. I
Okay.
think.
Conducting union business during parent-teacher conferences, such as disseminating strike-related materials, is prohibited. You know what's not prohibited is the school district sending out the shit we're reading right now. They're completely allowed to do this. This is not illegal. This is not even questioned as being illegal. My
Yeah, they're
wife
like,
and
hey,
I,
there might be this thing. Don't worry, your kids will be safe with us.
yeah.
They're
My
just
wife and
doing
I
it because
fucking
they're
made this shit.
greedy. But we have it covered. We're the administrators. And that's why it's so important to read what that teacher said. It's like, fucking superintendent is so out of touch, dude. He has no fucking idea what's going on here.
Yeah,
And that's the person who gets paid fucking six figures,
yeah.
maybe 200,000. Like a superintendent of a big district probably gets paid
Oh, easily.
a
Yeah,
few 100,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So here we have the Fresno Teachers Association has requested the health fund to be maintained. So as you recall, this is later on in the bargaining process, and I said that the health fund was being used to pay the teachers, and that means that the future is being thrown away for the present. Uh, and they are saying that, oh, we as the Fresno Unified or District have proposed not only to maintain the health fund, but to grow it. And it is worth noting that this is after the uh, district was sued. And so basically, they're on the back foot now. They're like, fuck. We stepped over our bounds and now we're in a bit of a pickle. And so maybe we can't do some of the things that we thought we could do. And so they go on to say that under our more recent proposal, the health fund is projected to grow rather than shrink over the lifetime of the contract. That growth will continue, and we're going to provide a bridge to Medicare. And so the idea is more or less along the lines of like, we will make sure that we have money available to get you to the age of, what is it, 65, I think now for Medicare, or is it 72 already?
I don't recall.
Okay, it's okay.
I think I want to say it's 65 or 67.
Yeah. Oh, I think it is 67. So yeah. And so ultimately, they changed their minds. They said, let's go ahead and not dip into the funds, but let's double the funds. And that was due to backlash because there are enough parents that are just like, this is bullshit. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The Teachers Association has requested reduced class sizes and special education needs, and the school district has agreed that we need to absolutely do that. They're going to or they have offered to reduce all special education classrooms to no more than 2 grade spans. And that's a big deal. You don't want to have, 4th graders with 8th graders. Like, you want to have or people in about the same age gap.
Where they're pretty close. Yeah.
And so, one final one. Did you have anything? Okay. One final one. I love this one, and it is talking to your children about a possible teacher.
Oh god, this is from the fucking district.
This is good, dude.
This is gonna be gold.
Good. This is gold. Good.
I guarantee it's like, this is how you tell your children that striking is evil.
I made notes, but I'm just going to read the whole fucking thing because it's not that long. It's only 3 pages. Good evening, Fresno Unified families. First, we want to acknowledge that you may see in the news or on social media some claims that our substitute teachers will not be serving our kids during an FTA strike. More on that later. Let me be clear, these claims are not representative of our more than 2,300 substitute teachers. Substitute teaching teachers union leaders held a small in-person vote with less than 50 people on Tuesday to make this decision on behalf of more than 2,300 members. Doesn't sound too strong to begin with.
I'm surprised they even included that.
Yeah. We are. It's so
considering
small.
They said that
it's such a small sample size.
Strike, it was they said we had 92.5% participation, and 93% of those voted for the strike.
Yeah. This is a very small participation number, really. They're very confident that there are more than 2,000 substitute teachers will be showing up and making good on their commitment. I have to wonder how many teachers were just like, oh yeah, I'll commit in theory just to fuck with you guys.
How many substitute teachers got their name added to that list that added their name to that list, not to be a substitute teacher, but specifically as they're saying to be scabs.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're confident that 2,000 substitute teachers are going to be showing up and making good on their commitment to support our
Mm-hmm.
students in the event of a strike. Most of the people on that list probably didn't know that the strike was coming.
Yeah.
They just want like gig work, right? They don't have a
They
credential and they want
I
gig
w-
work.
I will say that they had actually stated earlier, prior to this, but I will get to it. No, actually, it's after this. They made a statement afterwards that I think you'll like.
Okay,
Um,
great. Carry on
yeah.
then.
So yeah, we hope this helps a tiny bit in having these conversations and calming fears with your children. And so, like, this is all like, oh, your children are babies, like little babies, and whatnot.
Yeah,
I got a fucking 16-year-old. She doesn't give a shit about going to school. Like if you told her that she would have to miss 3 weeks, so that, or even a week, because most teacher strikes do not last more than a week. If you told her like, oh yeah, like you're gonna miss a week of school, she'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna write some fucking fiction,
yeah,
fan fiction, erotic fan fiction.
no.
But it, and then here they go on to make it or sound like they're providing extra support for anyone who needs it. Talking to your children about the strike, reassure your children. Explain that the strike is temporary. That is only true if they eventually meet the needs of the teachers. And so I think it's kind of like they're kind of putting the idea in your head of like, hey, Mrs. So and so or Mr. So and so, I was told that like this was going to be over soon. Why are you still out on this line? Be like, well, John Q student, here's the reason why. Um, I like this one. Assure your children that they didn't do anything to cause this. It's the full on like, you know, uh, yeah, children of divorce thing right there.
That's the opposite of what I did. I was like, you know why your teacher got fired? Because everybody looked at her unable to fucking manage you monsters.
Wow. I was thinking totally the thing that I just said, where it's like, hey, why I divorced your mother? It's all you.
No, that would certainly didn't get blamed on them. That was on me.
Let's
That was my fault for sure.
While children, don't say that online. While children are out, many familiar faces will still be on campus. So like
Yeah.
guard duty and so on and so forth. Um,
Stay focused on
Stay
learning.
focused on learning. Remind them that going to school daily helps them to grow and to learn. And so like they really are just pushing, this idea of like you have to do things all the time that you're told to, otherwise you will fall behind. And it's like, yeah, but I think any student my step kid, she's fucking 16. She's gonna be like, I don't learn hardly shit in school. I learn shit online. And the teachers help to reinforce what it is I learn what I learn online. Like, no qualms in saying that. Like, they're just helping them learn from the online material at this point.
Yeah, I mean, given access, it's dangerous at the same time as we were discussing with kids that were raised by phone screens during COVID. But like, that's the reality. I mean, that's how we learn now too, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I have fucking questions, I look that shit up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish it was easier to find information. I feel like no, seriously,
No, I got you.
in the past I really felt like I could get onto a search engine and find
Mm,
exactly what I kind of wanted to look
yeah.
at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's like you have to sift through like fucking mountains of sponsored content
Yeah.
and like other things that are not really what you want because someone paid money to put it in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
So I think in a lot of ways it's even harder to fucking get good information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It Well, I mean, it really is hard to get anything that is remotely fair because you are guided away from fair. Like when I first
Oh, yeah,
started,
and all the truth telling stuff just gets suppressed because like
yeah,
the system is fucking it needs to maintain itself, right? Like
yeah, like when I first got on, you had to prove your veracity every day because if you made a mistake, you were going to get gone. Like it wasn't it was a very early version of cancel culture, where like
Mm,
if you got facts wrong, you eventually just disappeared because no one could rely upon you. Like the early internet was really about answering questions. It had nothing to do with connecting people outside of affirming a point of view and answering a question. Like,
right.
and you can see the remnants of that primarily on Reddit, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I have a question. Let me go to Reddit. Like my wife the other day was like, Zach, I want to tell you something, and I know you're never gonna let me live this down. I was like, is it regarding Reddit? Yeah. You found something, didn't you? Yeah. Because there was a question about a piece of clothing that she ultimately found on Reddit, where they were like, oh, yeah, these people recommended this, these other people recommended this. I eventually got to this point, and this piece of clothing will not fail you. And she was like, fuck, I'm going to buy it, and I'll let you know if it's, pretty good. And the answer is it's pretty good, not great. Anyway, for high school age students, they say that they want you to tell your students a strike happens when employers, or let's put it in even smaller terms, a strike happens when mommy and daddy are unable to arrive at a compromise during contract negotiations. Uh, who are the employee? Is daddy the employee or is mommy the employee at this point? I don't know. Anyway, employees may stop working or strike as a means of protest to show how strongly they feel. And it's like, dude, I think that middle school students and above can understand that pretty damn well. And I kind of
Yeah.
like that they're just like, yeah, teach that to your kids. Um, but
Especially
here,
since middle school and high school students have fucking TikTok. They know what fucking a labor strike is.
yeah, and here you have remind your children that their teachers care about their other students and their learning. The most important thing for students to do is to continue to focus on learning and remind them that the school district and the teachers are both trying to arrive at a compromise. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, man, fuck that school district. Like,
At the same time, like it's not so much that they want to compromise for you.
yeah,
They want you to compromise with them.
yeah. And that really is what this is. This is, again, unfettered access to students, to parents, with no opportunity for the teachers to rebuttal, to point out the flaws in the argument and things like that. And this is not even the primary thing they sued for. Like they sued for less. It was really just a few teachers in one school district. This to me is the bigger story. Is like you have a whole bunch of students just being basically told like, hey, don't exercise your right like to support a union, come to school. And I can't oblige that.
Yeah. Um yeah, interesting. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, that shit happens all the time. I'm just thinking of it. It's just funny because like the charter school, like it's no fucking different. They are so just focused on their own thing, and it's great,
Hmm.
and it's great, and what we're doing is great, and it's like seriously, the fucking second grade classroom like is a shit show, and they still haven't hired someone. And I had to
Hmm.
go sit at the principal's office and be like, you know what would be beneficial if you sent a fucking email to the parents and told them where you are on
Right.
this resolving this issue, because it was like you knew you were going to fire her,
Hmm.
but you said nothing to no one. Then you fired her and then placed an ad, and you didn't tell anybody that for another week. You're just like, oh, we had to let her go. We're looking for someone else. But you didn't
Hmm.
give any details. So then you have to I have to tell you, send an email, tell us how long you want to have the job posting open for. what you're
Yeah.
looking for in a candidate and what they're like. Oh, we have parents that are going to come and sit on the committee to help hire. Well, they made this facilities committee and tried to make it about parents. There's 2 parents on the fucking committee, 3 parents.
Hmm.
And everybody are involved in it at all. And everybody else is just a fucking person who works at the school. It's like, why are you making the fucking decisions? Like, and you're making a decision that serves you because your resume looks better when you're like, manage $12 million fucking school building project.
Hmm.
And now you're really sexy to getting a better job to somewhere else.
Oh
But your
man, I gotta
resume
admit,
looks nice,
dude, I
right?
need to like reword my resume to talk about the $1 billion things I was in charge of. I'm gonna
No,
get hired so
100%. That's how
fast.
you do it, bro. I mean, seriously, like, were you ever a rating official? Did you have subordinates?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you did because you were in E6, E5.
E5. Anytime I was in the maneuvering area, acting as the reactor operator or shutdown reactor operator, I was in charge of everyone except for the officer.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big deal. So it's what, half a dozen people?
Yeah. It sounds huge. I mean, I don't make anything of it, but like I hear other people talk about their experience and I'm like, "Oh, you don't know shit." Like,
Yeah, I mean, I what they had here is we had well, I was a crew supervisor, and so I guess when we were on duty, I was the one making decisions, but that level of hierarchy is independent of the military.
yeah.
Um, that's just a supervisor for the facility, and so it doesn't even if I was on the desk as an E5, but like an E8 was coming up from desk time to get their to maintain their rating or whatever, get the time they
Hmm.
need every month. Like,
Yeah.
I would be in charge of them in that moment.
Yes,
So it's, like,
exactly.
independent of the rank hierarchy.
Yeah, and that
Um,
happened to me.
but we did get assigned as NCOs, we did get assigned, with, subordinates, and we were their rating official. So we basically mentored them, and
Yes.
we were responsible for doing the fucking paperwork for them.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, let's just end. We're at an hour. Let's just roll with what we did, I think,
Okay.
and save some of this other stuff. I mean, honestly, the Muslim thing could in Minneapolis could
Do you want to do a sneak
fit
preview of next
here,
week or Thursday
but
rather?
it could also be on Monday. Yeah.
Okay, so a sneak preview of Monday.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So basically, oh, you were gonna play this?
Oh no. What was your idea of a sneak preview?
Oh no, I wasn't gonna sneak preview. I was just gonna
Oh,
summarize.
okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
basically, Joe Biden's fucking, and we might not even show it. Joe Biden is pissing off fucking Muslims, American Muslims, and there are large populations of American Muslims in several swing states.
Hmm.
It's like North Carolina, Minneapolis, Michigan, and I want to say New York, maybe. New York's not a swing state, but Michigan, Minnesota, and fucking North Carolina are.
Hmm.
And like also pissing off fucking black people, dude, because black people have a lot of solidarity with Palestinians.
I
Because
mean,
like,
that seems fair.
yeah, because they're fucking oppressed people. They get it,
Yeah. They
right?
woke.
Yeah, we woke. Gotta stay woke. Um, so yeah, they get it, dude.
Yeah.
And so his fucking decisions are really hurting him, and the ethnic cleansing is ongoing, and there's lots to talk about always. And like some kind of mid ranking Hamas commander apparently was possibly at this refugee camp, so they fucking killed 50 people trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And what I saw today was that talking about people who had seen the footage. I didn't watch it, but yeah, so, like, you can straight up see the area, like where about the bomb hit, right
Hmm.
before it hit, and it was just fucking kids playing.
Yeah.
Like, so they basically just fucking bombed kids, and they're like, "Well, we don't know," right? And so it's just a fucking mess. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I think everything's a mess, right? Like, oh, clearly, we just spent an hour talking about how the
Um,
fucking school districts are a
we
mess, and
did.
like,
We didn't even get past that. We were supposed to cover two things. I apologize for that.
no, 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 no.
I'm
My
pretty
my point
passionate
is
about this
that
because like
yeah, carry on.
education's fucked right now.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is that like that stuff's not going to get better, right?
Yeah. No, it's only
Because
gonna get worse. Yeah.
these institutions have outgrown their usefulness. Now, education and institutions of learning have not outgrown their usefulness. In fact, in a lot of ways, I think we need more.
Yep.
But the kind of bureaucratic nonsense, right? Like they're not really teaching kids. I mean, this whole fucking week was a wash. Like they're like, oh, Halloween is like kind of a day we have like
Yeah.
some stuff in the morning, but then it's just like party all afternoon. And then
I
the
mean,
next day, they let everybody on campus wear PJs. And like I was in the second grade classroom, they didn't even have a lesson for them in the morning. They
yeah.
were
I
just
mean, think
letting them
about,
build blanket forts in the fucking school. And I was
dude.
like,
Think
when are we gonna
about.
learn?
No,
Because we're
man.
going
Think
into the
about.
fucking holidays where they have like a week off for Thanksgiving, and then they're off the middle of December through the end of January.
I
They're off
would.
for like 4, 5, or 6 weeks.
So I would ask you to think about your own education during that period of your life, but I know that your own education during that period of your life was vastly different. So I can't really like ask you to call upon that, but I can say
By the time I
that
was my eldest daughter's age,
yes,
um, pardon me, I was being homeschooled,
yes,
and I did more work doing homeschool, like far
mhm,
more work than my kids are doing at school, and
yes, and
I
I
only
can,
had to do school like 4 hours a day.
yeah,
But I did 4 solid hours of work. What they do is they go and it's fucking wrestling goats or herding cats or whatever metaphor you want for
no,
the
no, I
vast
don't.
majority of time. And there's 30 minutes of solid instruction in a
So
fucking 3-hour block of time. There's 30 minutes of instruction.
I don't
It's
want
fucking absurd.
metaphors. I don't want metaphors. I want to wrestle a goat. I think that'd be fun.
I want to wrestle a goat. I want to
It
fucking
sounds
drink
fun,
milk out of a
right?
goat titty straight from the titty.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'd
All I
squirt it.
fucking
I wouldn't put my mouth on a goat titty.
nah. Well, fucking Luke Skywalker, man, just got to get that titty.
A lot of people hated that, and I thought it was fucking great because I like creatures and shit,
It
right?
was
Like,
pretty damn funny, man.
well, it was
I like,
funny, but also because like it's universe building, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I've never had the opportunity to drink milk stirred at or straight out of a non-human animal titty, so maybe it would be fun.
We did goat's milk and tequila and chocolate in Mexico. It's like a breakfast drink,
Really?
and you
Hmm.
use like fucking chocolate and coffee and tequila or mezcal, and it's like warm goat milk straight from the teat, and it foams
Mm.
up. Like it's like it can be really foamy off the teat. So you go
Yeah.
and you have like half a cup of warm goat's milk, tequila, chocolate, and coffee. It's fucking amazing. It's so delicious. But also like you have to be in the mindset. You have to be having those. I know it's only 6:30 in the morning, but we're drinking tequila vibes.
Also, goat titties.
With goat milk.
Goat
Yeah.
titty.
At any rate, man, I'm happy they resolved this teacher strike. They're shady, and
Yeah.
it's all of our institutions are failing, man. Our
It,
fucking
it, it
Congress is such a joke. We're
it's
we're
pretty impressive. It actually sounds. Sorry to interrupt. But it's pretty impressive. It actually sounds like they got almost everything they wanted. I'll have to, like follow up on it, over the next few weeks. But it really does sound like they were able to convince the school district or to give them minimum the pay increases and the decrease of the classroom size.
yeah,
And so we're going to have to see what happens with these special education students. I have a feeling that ultimately,
they'll lose.
when it boils down to it, yeah, like they'll get left behind because that's just the way things work.
Yeah, and I feel that like that's kind of what I'm like at my kid's school because I'm like, I think that she suffers by being placed basically like because she's a smart kid, like I can see
Yeah.
it. And she gets
Put her
placed
in
between like
homeschool.
one who has like violent outbursts and emotional issues, and then one
Yeah.
who's on like pretty deep on the fucking spectrum. He's like verbal, but like he's not. He's like a kind of stare off
No,
into the corner
no.
of the room, kind of wobble, like wiggle around, kind of off, even though he
Yeah,
can
yeah.
use words.
I mean, we have a friend whose kid is similar, so yeah, yeah, we know how it
Yeah,
is.
but they're verbal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they can talk, and you can kind of communicate with them, but like
yeah.
there's just something that's not quite right.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
oftentimes it exposes itself in violent outbursts.
Yeah, again.
Which is especially scary as the parent of a younger child. Like, who's ready for the violent outburst of a child? Nobody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would be in fucking I would not be I mean, and then I would get told not to come
Oh,
back on
yeah.
campus because
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
be like, "No, dude, I detained him. Yes, I used
Yeah.
force." Like, "It's just a
No,
child." I was like,
nothing.
"I don't give a shit." Like,
Yeah.
children
That's a
are
child
capable
who
of
was like
murder. Have
hitting
you ever
somebody
heard
else.
of John Benet Ramsey?
Yeah, like that was a kid who hit another kid, so I just straight choked him out. Like, I
I
don't
don't
give
know
a
if I'd go that far.
Go fucker.
You wanna roll the music? We're already over time. We said
We
we're
are
gonna
over
wrap
time.
it an hour in.
I lied. I fucking lie. I don't have it ready. Do some bullshit, man. Quick, hurry. Okay.
All right, everybody.
Go.
Just remember, it's not just a military-industrial complex. Your government's not only complicit in a ethnic cleansing genocide at this very moment. Not only are they also talking, I saw somewhere today, they were talking about putting boots on the ground to help occupy Gaza until Israel is able to root out Hamas. Are you fucking serious?
AKA forever. Yeah.
Absurd. It's what we said from the get-go. Like, the plan is to fucking kick them out and take the oil and also just occupy the land. They want the land. They've wanted it since 1948. Since before then. Since Zionism became a project in like the late 1800s, they wanted all that land. Yeah, I also wanted to point out that we were a little ahead of the curve. I know I keep bringing it up, but I just want to...
We're fucking geniuses is what he's saying.
I just say that our choice to approach what's happening in the world through a particular analytical lens has allowed us to see things, see systemic connections before they become obvious to people who are not systems thinkers. So it took an extra week. And that's not to say Rachel Donald did, which check out her blog post in the show notes that's Planet Critical. Not saying she's not a systems thinker. She absolutely is. And her YouTube channel, Planet Critical, and her Substack are phenomenal. But sometimes, you know, it takes you a minute to get there. And for you to see facts that convince you that this is happening. And, you know, I fell down the peak oil rabbit hole back in like 2010, 2011. And I haven't looked back because it's the only thing that helps me make sense of the world we live in. Like,
It is the energy economy.
Everything needs energy, and in understanding ecology better and how energy moves through organisms and ecosystems,
Right.
Has been also quite enlightening. And that's why I think of things like the compulsory schooling system to be woefully outdated. Like, think of the massive fucking carbon footprint of those for what value? Like, let's do a cost-benefit analysis. Like, back in the day when we had an industrial economy here in the United States and we didn't have access to information the way we do now with the internet, right? Like, schooling was quite important. We needed to increase literacy rates. I think there is something to say about civics, like understanding that you go through the schooling system and then you kind of have like a shared identity together, and about the place you live and who you are and what values you hold or whatnot. I do think there's an important civic function, but like, it's just, oh yeah, we'll make sure that your kids have supervision by like approved people,
and that is
in the event
thing.
that like their teachers aren't here, so they're not, because it's not about learning, right? It's just kind of about keeping them here because it's an old industrial model.
It's about occupying.
Like, raise your hand if you need to use the bathroom. Be in time before the bell, the whistle blows, right? The shop floor goes live. You know, like,
I mean, it is about occupying their time until their parents are able to come get them. And
keep them
even in the emails we read, there is no denying that, because they said like, oh, the preschool and the post-school programs will continue. Like, don't worry about that. And that is something that we took advantage of when she was in middle school. We basically like paid very little. I think it was like on the terms of like $150 to $200 a month to make sure that we could leave her at school from the time school got out until 5 p.m. And like, that's pretty common. And like, that's babysitting. That's
well, right. And it's to keep them out of the workforce, right? A big part of compulsory education was to prepare them to be an industrial worker.
Yeah.
Right. And the other part of it was to remove them from the labor force, because adult workers were getting fucking mad that their wages were being suppressed by kids.
Yeah. And now,
and also there was like industrial accidents and other things where we're like, hey, maybe kids shouldn't be working with deadly machines. Like,
despite the fact that they yearn for the mines, maybe they shouldn't be the primary mine workers.
Exactly. And so it's just another example of institutions in decay, and they're not effectual, and we just need to rethink them. It's not that schooling is bad. It's not that schools are bad. It's not that
they're actually quite good,
greedy, or administrators are liars and corrupt, although all of those things can be true, right? It's over just that they're operating in a system that, according to rules that they didn't write, and they're just going along because that's what we're supposed to do, is just do what we do. And no one's stopping to say, like, hey, wait a second, what is the result? Like, what is our objective?
Yeah.
I mean, if our objective is to raise like more caring human beings that are prepared to inherit the world we're leaving them, we shouldn't really be in school much at all.
Yeah. Well, or we should. Or we should, but the lesson should be vastly different.
Right.
Like, I'm
much
not
more focus on hands-on, much more focus on critical problem-solving skills, and a lot less on following rules.
Yeah.
Right. But also at the same time, you need order, right?
Yeah. And I will say some of the most.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Some of the most enjoyable, lessons I had in school happened when I was taking art classes in high school. I had already finished all of my compulsory education and was just kind of doing what felt fun. I took art, I took engineering, and that was great shit right there. Like, that, I think, gave me more lessons in humanity than like the humanities classes I was taking in the escalated version of the humanities. Like, oh yeah, I could take English and I'll study this poem, or that. But like, I actually learned more from hanging out with my own cohorts than I do from studying.
Yeah, 100%. And some of it is life skills, right? And socialization. And that's all important too. But that we don't need to maintain massive facilities that burn a ton of fossil fuels to heat and cool and have lights on everywhere, and then have all these staff members. Like at my parent or my kids' school, so much of their office staff, like, they don't, like, it's bullshit jobs, dude. It really is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure the nurse is important. Someone needs to be in charge of keeping vaccine records because the state says you have to have them, right?
Yeah.
But like, for the most part, it's like, okay, here, we'll like wash your little scrape or cut with a little warm soapy water, and I'll put a Band-Aid on it. And that's all she does, like 2 or 3, 5, 6 times a day.
Yeah.
She puts a Band-Aid on a kid's wound. And mostly she just serves there to be an extra babysitter when kids don't want to be in class. They're like, oh, can I go to the nurse? Like, that's, and I'm not talking shit, man. She's a nice lady, right? And I'm sure she does do important stuff. Is she putting in a full 40-hour fucking week, though?
Does that matter? Dude, does that matter, though? Like,
I mean, I'm just saying,
should we have to put in a full 40-hour work week in order to just live?
No, but we're not. But it's not our job to utilize the school as a way to employ people in things that don't serve the rest of us.
I mean, the thing is, she could
a society that
could serve a function, though. Like, what happens if your kid gets impaled with something? Like, you have someone who's moderately trained how to keep your student from dying.
Nope. When a kid fucking fell and broke their arm.
Yeah. Ooh.
On the playground.
You have a story.
They called the fucking I don't know if they used an ambulance. I think the parents came and transported him or something.
Yeah, they probably called the parents first. Like, hey, your kid broke their shit. You know, do you want to pay a ton of money, or do you want to drive them to the hospital yourself?
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
So, just remember, like, most of it's bullshit jobs. I mean, the second highest ranking person there has spent more time writing emails about fun activities they're doing on campus than I think doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, she just walks around all the time. And I'm like, no hate, but like, are you really, like, you guys are always talking about how you don't have money, you're always hitting up parents. Like, I had to buy pencils with my own money for my kids' classroom.
Yeah.
Because there's no fucking pencils. There's no tissues. I had to buy tissues for a second grade classroom. Like, why? Because they don't have money. Why do you
are
have money?
outside the
You
normal
fucking
system too.
pay all this money for administration. Everything is top heavy. I mean, fucking universities are worse.
Yeah.
Universities are so top heavy with
Well,
six-figured salaried fucking executives that
Steve,
have like weird fucking jobs. Like, I'm the vice president of diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
And all you do is fucking talk to your assistant who fucking communicates with the caterer for the event that you're doing, and then you'll go like talk at the event, and that's your job.
But I'm
Why
glad
are we
that you can
paying
at least
$200,000 fucking dollars.
I'm glad you can at least acknowledge that there are these jobs that are seemingly, you know, pointless, but like when you boil it down to it, you know what they probably do is they probably get money from any sort of what's it called? You know,
State program or grant or something.
State program.
Yeah.
But or what do you call it when you're a graduate? You know, like you had that boys club you joined.
Like a Greek
fraternity. You joined.
Yeah.
Or you join that fraternity? Yeah. Like you have that going on, and so like it's very similar, you know, where the idea is just like, oh yeah, like you build, you know, your relationships in order to get shit done later on down the line.
Yeah, it's just, and that's all I'm saying is that I think it's worth when we're looking at having to reshuffle political institutions, redo the way that we just grow and distribute food, and all of these other institutions that have been built around and grown up around fossil energy and an automobile-based economy and a resource-intensive economy and a fucking standard of living that relied on us dominating everyone around the globe and stealing their resources. And maybe we should be like, hey, if we don't want to be a fucking empire, let's start thinking about what we need to do to rein in our consumption. Because the only reason all the things we have them is because we've exploited other people. That's how the system works. And so if we want to talk about a post-carbon future, if we want to talk about a post-imperial future, we want to talk about a future where there's peace, secured peace for all people, and all people's needs are met, right? In the context of Israel, Palestine, or whatever, right? If we want to build that world, we have to fucking ask hard questions and make sacrifices ourselves. And that might be, let's cut a lot of fat around the fucking school administrators and maybe think about a different way of delivering better quality education with fewer resources and less time.
Fewer jobs. And that is the thing, is our current economy is based around the concept that you have to make jobs for people. And it's like, no, you only...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. It is literally, we are creating bullshit jobs in order to try and make sure that the bulk of people do not die of starvation. And you know what? The sad part is, it's cheaper to just admit to ourselves that most jobs are bullshit, pay people for doing nothing, and like actually let them, you know, produce like, oh yeah, I wanted to get my house painted, and someone who was otherwise unemployed came through and did it for me and felt great joy and charged me nothing other than the cost of the paint. Like, that's the sort of life that we could be living. People doing the things that they enjoy just because they enjoy them and because it benefits other people. Fucking ridiculous when you think about it, but
It is, and we just shot the Poodoo like a lot right there in that last 20 minutes.
One hell of a lot.
I have been your host, Steve, along with my co-host, Zach, and this has been with Thunderous Applause, where we'd like to remind you that when liberty dies, it dies
With fucking thunderous applause.
All right, show me that beautiful green bastard.